Hey viewers, back again doing another weekend project. Today we're going to do something simple, easy, and fixable. We're going to change the water pump and the timing belt on this 2001 Hyundai Elantra. This is the part number for the water pump. Comes with the gasket as well. And customer brought in their own timing belt. This is a part number made from Gates. Pretty simple job. If you're at home, make sure you put your vehicle on proper jack stands. Also, you will need a jack to support the engine, since we will be removing the engine mount. I am using a lift, so I'm going to try to see if I can be as detailed as possible for you to see how I'm doing this. So the first thing first, make sure you do this job when the car is fully cooled down, because we're going to go ahead and start off by removing the coolant from the cooling system. But before you even do that, don't forget, make sure to remove your negative terminal from your battery, since we will be moving the alternator as well. So I don't want you to get shocked in any way, shape, or form. Alright gentlemen, so let's go ahead and start this process. First things first, let's go ahead and remove the coolant, remove the radiator cap. And for this vehicle, there is a petcock on the actual radiator itself, so this is going to be super easy for you to do at home. Just make sure that you use a nice catch band, and if you do get some coolant on your floor, make sure you wash it with the hose right away, because a lot of our loving pets like to for some reason, it's kind of like candy to them, and if they drink off of it, well, you kind of figure what's going to happen. So make sure you hose it down, or catch all the coolant that you possibly can when you're doing this as well. So let me just show you guys what I'm talking about. So this is the actual petcock that we're going to remove, and it's right in front of the radiator. If yours doesn't have this petcock, it probably has like a little either a screwdriver shape nut or bolt that you can remove in order for you to get this here. So let me go ahead and just drain this, and again, make sure that your vehicle is cool. Do not do this while it's hot. So let me go and let this drain, and then we'll continue. Okay, so the next step, once you completely drain the coolant system, we're going to go ahead and remove 4 10mm bolts that's holding the pulley here. So there's 4 of them, 1 2 3 4. If you have the luxury to have a 10mm that's a long wrench, it's going to definitely help you out. And make sure you do this with the belt on, so that way you can definitely get these out as well. So again, I am removing this with the belt on, so it can be much faster. Now if you come across that your belt let me see, my wrench fell. Let me get that wrench here. Now if you come across that it's not turning, here's a tip. You could definitely put the wrench here, and then grab a small little mallet, and while you have the wrench here, you could bang the wrench with that mallet to kind of force it down, and that's gonna help you break that loose. So let me go ahead and loosen those, and then once they're loosened, we're gonna go to the next step, so that way we can continue this job. Okay guys, so next step, we're gonna go ahead and remove a 12mm nut. Okay guys, once you remove that 4 pulley bolt, we're gonna go ahead and loosen this 12mm nut that's holding the alternator. The reason why we're gonna loosen it is because we have to we're gonna go ahead and loosen up the adjuster, and then we're gonna go ahead and just push the alternator forward a little bit so we can get that belt. And again, this is a 12mm bolt that we're gonna go ahead and use loose, and I'll put the torque specs here on the screen. So I'm gonna go and get that loose. Alright, so now that it's loose, we're going to go ahead and loosen the adjuster on the top. Okay guys, once you loosen that bottom bolt from the alternator, we're going to go ahead and remove the adjuster, and we're also going to loosen it up. We're going to use a 12 millimeter deep socket, and we're going to go ahead and just completely remove this bolt. The reason why is because we're going to have to remove this bracket as well once we get to that part. But just go ahead and loosen this up, and then we're going to go ahead and use a 12 millimeter wrench to loosen this adjuster, so that way we can push the alternator forward, and we can remove the serpentine belt that's holding the water pump pulley. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this real quick. And then don't forget to loosen the adjuster as well. And this is going to be a 12 millimeter nut that we're going to go ahead and remove. And that was already loosened, and we're just going to go ahead and move it this way. Okay, so let me go ahead and remove this adjuster completely, and then we'll continue, guys. Okay guys, so I'm taking the holding screw that's holding the adjuster, and this is what this looks like. There we go. And this is the nut that goes here. So just set this aside, and then once we remove that, that's going to allow us to move the alternator. You can move forward. You can use a pry bar to move it forward, and that's going to allow us to remove that serpentine belt. So let me go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll continue. Okay, just be careful not to move these parts. Alright. Okay guys, here's one tip. I always put an arrow on the direction that I'm going to install this belt back, just so that we can kind of get an idea that it's going this way. So again, we're just going to go ahead and remove it like so. Alright, so the next step, I'm actually going to remove the power steering pump, so that way I can kind of show you a little bit more. You don't have to do this step, but it really helps me out. And I'm also going to be removing the power steering reservoir. We're just going to go ahead and use a Phillips screwdriver to get that out. But for the power steering pump, all it is, I'm just going to go ahead and loosen and remove this bolt. And then I'm also going to get this other bolt. I don't know if you guys can see it right there. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I'm using this setup. I'm using a 14 millimeter deep socket to go ahead and remove this. And again, this is going to allow us to if you were not taking this off, all you have to do is just loosen this. You don't even have to loosen this one. But if you're going to remove the power steering belt, all you do is just loosen this bad boy, and then you just push it like so, and it's going to allow you to remove the actual power steering pump. But again, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and remove it. That way I can kind of show you guys what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and make a mark arrow, so that way when I put everything back, I know what way it goes. And again, we're going to go ahead and take out this 14 millimeter nut holding this power steering here, and I'm going to completely take it out, just so that way I can kind of show you guys how to remove this water pump, give you guys some more footage, easier footage. Okay, so let me go ahead and remove this. We're going to set this aside. Okay guys, just want you guys to know that the bottom 14 millimeter power steering bolt is a little bit bigger than the top one. This one came out of here, so you can tell the difference there, different sizes. Just want to make a note of that as well, so that way when you put everything back, you put everything the way we're taking it apart. We're just going to put this over here, and that's going to allow us to basically push the power steering forward, and then we're going to go ahead and take out the serpentine belt from here. Just going to go ahead and pry this out of the way, like so. I'm just going to go ahead and move the alternator a little bit back so that way I can remove that belt. But this is going to allow us to just to remove the actual power steering pump and just going to put it out of the way. You're not going to disconnect anything here. So let me go ahead and also remove this with the Phillips screwdriver, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so I'm going to removing this Phillips screw, put this out of the way, and that's going to allow me to pull up on the power steering reservoir. And so I'm going to move the power steering reservoir and the power steering pump out of the way. So let me go and do that real quick so we can have more room. You guys can see what I'm doing. Okay guys, so just to give you an idea, this is how I have the power steering out of the way, and I put a little bit of a little elastic band to hold the power steering reservoir out of the way. So the next step, we're going to go ahead and if you're at home, you want to go ahead and put your jack on the actual oil pan, but make sure that you use a nice set of wood, so that way you don't crush your oil pan. And again, I'm using this setup here just so that way it can help me show you guys a little bit what I'm going to do. But you definitely want to go ahead and just raise it a little tiny bit, at least maybe an inch, because we will be removing the motor mount, but that way the engine could be secure. And again, just make sure you properly secure this part with your jack. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to go to the next step, which we're going to go ahead and remove the motor mounts, so that way we can have access to the timing belt. And then we're going to go ahead and continue the process of removing the actual water pump since it's leaking. Alright, so let's going to do that real quick. Alright guys, so we have two 14mm nuts and one 14mm bolt that we're going to go ahead and take off. So let's go and do that. And you probably saw the engine move, but since we have that that jack on the bottom, that's the reason why it's very important that you support it. And I'll put the torque specs on these two nuts here, and I'll put the torque spec on this one as well. So we're gonna get this other one, okay? So let me just put this here, that way we don't lose this. And I believe that's gonna be a 17. Double check here for you guys. Yep, 17mm bolt. So it's going to take that off. Alright. There we go. And then, I'll put this here. We're going to take out these other 14mm bolts. One here and one there. And I'll put the torque specs here on these two. And I'll put the torque spec here on this big one as well. Alright, now we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and pull this up. Oh, I forgot, there's one more that's holding here on the top, and then we're just going to go ahead and remove this one. I believe this is a 10mm, and that should allow us to pick that up. So let me go and do that real quick. Okay, so once you remove this one, oops, where did it go? There was a little sheet cover that we're gonna put this here, but that's gonna allow us to, we're gonna also remove these here, get these out of the way. And this is just the bracket that's holding on to the actual power steering reservoir. So let me just put these here back, and that's going to allow us to actually remove the motor mount out of the way once we get that last bolt here. So let me go ahead and remove it real quick, and then we'll continue. Alright guys, so we're just going to go ahead and remove this top bracket out of the way. Just going to have to fiddle around with it a little bit. And then this support, again, just make sure this is a good time to inspect the actual motor mount, just to make sure it's good. And both of the bolts for the motor mount are the same, as you can see, all three of them. Here, just gonna put these here like so, and then we're gonna gingerly just take it out of the way. Just put it aside here, and that's gonna give us more room, so that way we can continue with the process of removing this. Alright, so next step, we're going to go ahead and start removing the timing cover. And there are some brackets here that we're going to have to remove. I think this is a 10mm bolt, 10mm bolt. I believe these are, if I'm not mistaken, also 10mm. We're going to go ahead and remove this. Just get out of the way. And this one too. Again, this is just a bracket that's holding on to that cover there. And what we like to do, I just like to put this here, so that way I know it's going to go back in here. And we're going to continue. Alright, so far I've taken out 4 10mm, one there, one there, one there, one there. And that's going to allow us to expose the timing belt itself. And again, I'm just gonna put this here and get these bolts there, so that way I kind of know where everything goes when I install everything back. Alright, and this is a good time also, check this out, see how loose the timing belt is? It shouldn't be that loose. So we're going to go and continue. Alright, so the next step, we're going to go ahead and get this bracket. This is going to be also a 14mm bolt. It fell, so let me see if I can get that. And then we're just going to remove this bracket like so. And I'm just going to go ahead and just put this bolt back here. That way I don't forget to install it back. Oh. Alright. And this is going to give me more room so I can continue removing the pulley. So let me go remove that real quick, and then we'll continue. Let me just take this piece off. Alright guys, I'm removing the last 10mm pulley bolt, and just want to kind of show you guys what this looks like. So this is the first pulley, and then there's the other pulley, so they don't fall off. If I can get them out one-handed. get this first one out, and then this is the other pulley. So when we put it together, they're basically going to go like this. See the same notch here? It's going to go with the same notch right there when you put everything back like that. Alright, so just don't forget how that goes. And that's going to go ahead and give us a little more room to continue with the process. So the next step, guys, we're going to go ahead and remove the bottom. Well, before we remove the bottom timing cover, we're going to go ahead and put this bad boy on top dead center. Now I'm going to try to see if I give you some lighting. I don't know if you see the crankshaft. There is a 0 on that plastic lid. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to rotate the crankshaft to put a top dead center there. And also you see this little up. We're going to go ahead and put this up right here. I don't know if you can see that little red dot there. We're going to go ahead and make sure that it's there. Let's see if I can mark it as well. Right there. So this up and this little mark is going to have to be here. So we're going to have to turn the crank pulley to make that happen. And again, also I'm going to try to see if I can show you guys that there at the top dead center, your pulley is going to have a little arrow that we're going to go ahead and see if we can put it in there. I don't know if I can show you from here. Oh man, I can't because this is on the way. So let me go ahead and get I think this is a 19mm bolt, and see if I can show you guys how it's gonna look when we put it on top of the center. Okay. Alright guys, so we're gonna go ahead and put this on top of the center. Again, my mistake guys, this is a 22mm nut. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Remember, we're gonna go ahead and do it clockwise. Never go counterclockwise. All right. If you mess up, we gotta continue clockwise, never counterclockwise. Okay. So again, I'm gonna turn this. As you can see, it's gonna continue. There we go. So I'm gonna get this turning. There we go, guys. Almost. Just making sure. Alright, so we're getting close to that red mark. See that? And right there. So if I can give you guys some lighting, I don't know if you can see that. So now that's going to be a top dead center, and then I'm going to show you guys here at the bottom. There's this little line on the actual crankshaft pulley. Let's see if I can give you guys a close up. It's going to be a white line. I don't know if you guys can see that. See if I give you guys. Alright, so you see that line on the crankshaft pulley? It's literally on the top dead center mark. You can barely make it out, but you have to make sure that's there, and also it's here before we start removing the timing belt. Okay guys, so just going to give you an idea. Once you have that, you guys are solid. The next step, we're going to go ahead and remove the AC belt. That's pretty easy. All it is, we're going to go ahead and loosen up this nut, and then we're going to go ahead and loosen the adjuster, and that's going to allow us to remove that AC belt. So let me go do that real quick. Alright guys, and again, this is going to be a 14mm nut. Let's go ahead and loosen that bad boy. There we go. Alright, once it's loosened, we're going to go ahead and get I believe this is a 12mm socket. So we're going to go ahead and loosen the adjuster, and we're going to remove that AC. Okay, so once you loosen that 14mm bolt, we're going to use a 12mm socket, and we're going to go ahead and loosen this adjuster. As you can see, it's going to allow us to basically remove the AC belt like so. So we're going to go move it out of the way. There we go. Just kind of get out of the way like so. I'm going to leave this one here because I know that's going to be the AC belt. Now that we have this bad boy on top dead center, again, make sure you double check that it should be pointing up, and it should go through that red dot that I marked. You could also check from the bottom as well. That's the top dead center. Okay, once we have that, we're going to go ahead and remove the crankshaft, so that way we can start removing the top timing belt cover. So if you have access to an impact wrench, that's going to be super helpful. And we're going to get this removed right away. So I'm going to set that up real quick. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and remove this 22mm bolt pulling the crankshaft pulley. Let's see if we have any luck. That's going to come out. Alright guys, so I guess the Milwaukee Metis match. Let me see if I get another impact that's gonna help us get this bad boy out. Be right back. Alright guys, so we're gonna try this Ryobi 600 foot-pounds of torque brushless. It's a new tool to my toolbox. Let's see if this will save me that headache. Ready? Check it out. Alright, so I guess not. Ryobi, I expected more. No worries. I could always count on my Milwaukee 1,000 foot-pound. Let me go ahead and get that out of the way real quick. Alright, let's see if this Milwaukee 1,200 foot-pound of torque could remove this stuck bolt. Here we go. Like butter. Like butter. Invest in one of these guys. Save yourself the headaches. Alright. So since the pulley moved a little bit, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that everything's at top dead center. Once again, before I remove the actual crankshaft. Let me check. Alright. Everything looks good there. I'm also checking the little mark on the crankshaft. Top dead center. Alright, looks good. Looks good. Alright guys. So since everything looks good, I'm going to go ahead and remove the pulley. Hopefully you have luck. And the pulley should just come loose. If not, we're gonna have to get a puller. Crossing my fingers, guys. Alright guys, once you remove the 22 crankshaft bolt, your pulley should come out. Let's see if this one comes out. If not, you're gonna have to need a puller that you could hold on to these and ratchet it in, and it should pull out. But let's see if I have any luck. Let me see if I could wiggle it out. Okay, my lucky day, guys. The puller's coming out. Alright. And this is the little line I was talking to you about. That should be on the top dead center, that one. And then there should be like a little cap. I'm gonna go and remove, like so. And this one has a little key, and this is a key for that crankshaft. So remember, this is gonna go first, and that's gonna go second. Okay. And then the next step, we're gonna go ahead and remove, I think there's gonna be 5 10mm bolts holding the bottom timing belt cover. Here's one. You can barely see it because it's so full of oil. And then if we come up here, here's another one. And here, I don't think I can show you guys, but here's another one. And that should definitely free up that bolt. Let me see if I could clean this one. Okay. So go ahead and take these off. And we're gonna be able to free that. Okay, that's one. I'm gonna put it right here, that way I don't forget it. And then the other one, I believe, here. Just be careful not to drop it. And the other one's pretty tight here, so I'm gonna have to get a deep socket. This is too big of a tension. Let me go do that real quick. Alright guys, so I wanted to show you one more thing. Make sure again you're top dead center. I don't know if you see this white mark. That should be aligned with that other white little arrow. I don't know if you guys can see that because of the lighting, but it should be right on that line there. I don't know if you guys can see that. And again, the little hole there, it should be lined up on that red dot underneath here. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that. But just make sure everything's lined up. It should be, and you should be good to go before you even remove that timing belt. Okay, so let's go and get this. Next step, we're gonna go and remove the tensioner here. This is gonna be a 14mm bolt that we're gonna go and remove. Okay, so let's go and do that real quick. Alright guys, so before removing that, I'm gonna put a little a wrench on this adjuster just so I can kind of hold it as I loosen it up. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Remember, lefty loosey, okay? Pretty stuck in there, so let me put a penetration oil on that real quick. Alright guys, I had to get a breaker bar here, a long one, so I can get that leverage to get it out of the way. Go ahead and do that real quick. There we go. Alright, loosen it up. Let me get my regular ratchet. There you go, guys. Okay, guys, so once the tension is loosened, we're just going to go ahead and remove it. And then we're going to go ahead and install a new one. And I'll put the torque specs on the screen. There we go. That's what it looks like. Just set it aside. And then that's going to go ahead and allow us to remove the timing belt out of the way. Just be very careful. Alright. There we go. And I always compare it with the new timing belt. Okay, guys, so the next step, we're going to go ahead and remove this bracket. It's basically held on by 4 12mm bolts here on the top and also here at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that one here and here. So I'll put the torque specs on these here, and then I'll put the torque specs on the other ones as well. So let me go ahead and just take this, and these bolts are holding that water pump as well. So definitely make sure you take the time to get these out. Get this real quick. Here we go. And we need to take this bracket out so that way we can remove that. And this is the bracket that's holding that alternator in place. And again, I'll put the torques on the screen there for you, what they need to be torqued according to the service manual. Alright, here we go. I should free that up. They're pretty long, so just kind of be patient. And this one too. And once you just pull these out like so, like that. And I'm just gonna put the other 2 bolts so that way I know where they go, like so. All right, the next step, we're gonna take out this other I think this is I forgot what it's called, but in order for me to get that out, I'm using this setup. It's an 18-inch ratchet with 14 millimeter socket. I'm just kind of setting it up here, and I have that extra leverage, see, to take this out. So let me go ahead and break that loose. Oh, okay, there you go. So we got to take this one out in order for us to remove that that water pump. And again, this is perfect time to replace that as well. Okay, guys, so I'm just removing this this pulley here. Just be very, very patient because it's a long bolt, super long. air flew. Here, let me get that. There we go. This is what the pulley looks like so. Alright, so let's go ahead and put that aside. And now guys, it's the perfect time. We're going to go ahead and remove the water pump. It's basically held on by 1, 2, here at the bottom, 4 bolts. And if you look at the new water pump right here, it's get kind of the position this way, like so, and make sure, okay, like that. So yeah, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3 bolts, and these are already taken out because they're holding the bracket. So it's just 3 bolts here, here, and there. All right, so let me go ahead and ratchet those 2. But before, let me go ahead and get a nice size catch pan, just because you will get some coolant that's going to splash down. Even though we took out the coolant from the radiator, there's still going to be some in there. Okay, so let me go ahead and get that started. And those are going to be 12 millimeter bolts that we're going to go and remove. And this is how I'm going to take them out, like so. So it's good to have a nice set of a long ratchet to do this job. Let me see, there we go. Alright, so let me go ahead and get these out of the way, and then we'll come back, guys. Okay guys, so just want to recap. We have 1 bolt here, 1 bolt there at the bottom. We have another bolt right here that I'm about to take. And I do want to notice, and I do want you guys to also understand, the 2 bottom bolts are bigger, and this is the top one of the water pump. Okay, so these are the bottom, this is the top one. Make note of that. So now that we have that out of the way, we have our catch pan underneath, and we're going to go ahead and remove the water pump. Alright guys, so now that you have all the bolts out of the water pump, if you have a small little mallet, you can just tap it and it should come loose. Just make sure you have your catch pan there, like so. See that? Oh man, it went through the alternator. I hope I forgot to learn from my mistakes, put a little bag on the alternator. I noticed some coolant went in it. That's why it's very important that you disconnect the negative terminal on that battery. But that should definitely free up the water pump. Oh man. Hopefully, yeah. Okay, here we go. And we're just gonna go ahead and take out the water pump. See, it was leaking, and also it was you could hear the bad bearings on it. I always compare it with the new water pump, make sure it's the same size and also the same configuration, and it is. Alright, so the next step, guys, and this is the most crucial step, we're going to go ahead and make sure we clean the mating surface. If you have access to a good razor blade or something that's going to allow you to remove any particle, this is the most crucial part of the job. Take the extra time, guys, to make sure you clean this out really good. Make sure no gasket, old gasket, it's in here, so that way everything could go. See that? See that? That's what I'm talking about right there. So definitely take that time, get this out of the way, and clean it really good. Otherwise, you're going to be kicking yourself. Where's my rag? Here we go, guys. Alright, so let me go ahead and clean that really good, and then we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and install the new water pump with the new gasket. There we go. Alright guys, so I'm about to install the gasket. So the good thing about this type of engine, see these little notches here? One here, one there. I'm just going to go ahead and start putting the gasket in these notches like so. I'm going to do that real quick. Let's see if I can do it with two hands. Bear with me. Alright guys, what I also like to do, I like to put a little bit of water pump thermostat gasket maker. I'm going to put some here, around here, just a thin coat of it, just to have the extra protection. Just because that gasket, it's kind of paper thin, so I want to add that extra protection since I'm already doing. Alright guys, so this is what that thin coat looks like. It's just a small little coat of it, not a whole lot. See that? And that's just an added protection, just because that gasket is pretty thin, so I want to make sure that the customer is happy and doesn't have any leaks in the future, since we're already doing this job. Alright, so I'm just going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'm going to start installing everything back, okay? And I'll put the torque specs on the screen there, so what these have to be torqued. Alright, so let me go ahead and get that pump installed, and then we'll continue. Okay guys, so the next step, I'm going to go in and hand tighten the bolts from the water pump, and I'm going to install that bracket because I'm going to start putting everything back together. Again, I haven't torqued this one or haven't torqued the bottom ones. I'm just kind of hand tightening them as they go, because when I torque them, I'm going to torque them in a crisscross pattern. So I want to make sure that I take that approach as best as I can. So I'm just going to go ahead and install this bracket, and then we'll torque them at 20 foot-pounds. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that real quick. Alright guys, so next step, we're going to go ahead and install the roller right here. I'll put the torque specs right there where it needs to be. So you're going to have to get a little bit creative to get a torque wrench in here, but definitely go ahead and install this and torque it appropriately, guys. So let me go and do that real quick, and then we'll come back. Okay guys, so the next step, we're going to go ahead and install the actual timing belt. I like to start right here underneath the camshaft. I'm just going to start putting it from here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I kind of line these up like so, and then I'm going to make sure from the bottom, from the top, I'm going to go ahead and over the actual I don't know if you guys can see the actual pulley here. It's going to go underneath it, over it, and as you guys can see here, it's going to go underneath over the pulley. It's going to go here. We're going to put it here, and we make sure that the top dead center sprocket hasn't moved, and also that little white mark, it's right where it needs to be. I don't know if you guys can see that there. It's still aligned at the top dead center. Once you confirm that hasn't moved, we're just going to go ahead and make sure that everything's correct, and then we're going to go ahead and install the tensioner. This bad boy here, and I'll put the torque specs here on the screen. And again, before we even tighten it and torque it, I'm just going to make sure I install it, and then once I kind of feel that it's hand tying it, I'm going to go ahead and move the tensioner with this little Allen wrench, and then once it's completely compressing the belt, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it, final torque it. Okay, so I'm going to do that real quick. Okay guys, so I installed the tensioner here, and I'm just kind of tying it, hand tying it I haven't torqued it yet, but once I get closer to it, now I'm gonna go ahead and install my 5mm hex key. I'm gonna go and just place it in this little keyhole right here. Just make sure it's nice, and you're gonna have to play with it a little bit, just so that way it can fit in smoothly. There we go. Oh, there we go. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and press this down as much as we can, and then we're gonna go ahead and tighten it, and we're gonna torque it to, I'll put the torque specs right there, okay? Alright guys, so once you torque it, we're gonna go ahead and remove the hex key out of the pulley. You have to either use some pliers. There you go. So now you want to come and just make sure it's nice and tight, and then we're going to go ahead and turn the crank bolt just to make sure it's at top dead center before we install everything back. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that that mark lines up with the other mark, and everything lines up here. Alright, so let's go and do that, just to confirm everything's at top dead center, and then we're going to go ahead and start everything back. Alright, so let me do this here. Alright, and just temporarily put on that that bolt, and then we're going to go ahead and make sure it comes back. So I'm going to do that real quick. Alright guys, here we go. Hopefully you guys could see that. Hopefully. And again, we're going to make sure that we do a revolution, see, and make sure everything's at top dead center. You see that little white mark? We're going to make sure that it lines up with that other mark there, and then on the top as well. So let's go and do that real quick. Make sure everything's perfectly fine before we install everything back. There we go. Alright. And again, I'm also checking at the top, this little up here, making sure that this up mark goes back here. Alright, so let's go and continue. There we go. There we go, almost guys. Let me give you guys a little close up. See here. And right there, that's that little mark here. Make sure it lines up with that other mark in the back, and then we're going to come up back here, and everything lines up. I can see the little red mark, see through the red mark there, so that means we're good to go. And we're gonna go ahead and start everything back in order. So guys, I hope this video helped you out. Sorry I can't do the rest because it's already nighttime and customer wants his car already, but everything is pretty much straightforward. You're gonna put the pulley bolts, and you're gonna put the covers back, and then you're gonna put the power steering back, and we're gonna fill it with coolant. Once you fill it with coolant, make sure you bleed the air by turning the vehicle on, putting the heater on full blast, and just let that coolant take its course. I hope this video helped you out, guys. And then you're gonna put the motor mount back, And again, I put the torque specs as I was taking these apart. Kind of gives you an idea how to put this back. Alright guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put this back. But hopefully this video kind of helped you out. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Have a blessed day, guys. See you guys next time.